One strategy for dealing with data access during testing is to ignore it altogether, and you can do that using a stub system. I'm going to do that with Sinon-JS. Before we get started, I want to point out that I created a brand new model called mission. If you recall, I had to work with the concept of a mission in our review process, so I decided to formalize that into its own module here. I'm using a constructor pattern, and that constructor is going to return individual mission instances. There's a status here, commander, MAV pilot, colonist, tourist, and a launch date. That is important because I'm going to be working with launch dates later on. Next, we want to check if the mission needs a given role, and that goes along with some logic. And we're also going to be wanting to assign a role to a given mission. And then finally, we do want to know if it's even flying. Next, I created another class called Mission Control. Mission Control is the thing that handles missions. And this, if you notice here in the constructor, it's going to take a database instance. This is dependency injection. Rather than Mission Control creating its own database instance, I'm going to pass it in. Why? Because testing. When we test, we want to make sure that we can mock and stub and handle all the dependencies that a given class has so that we can test it better. Moreover, if I was to require the DB above, I'm actually binding this Mission Control module to my database module. That makes coupling happen. We don't want that. We want our Mission Control module to be as flexible as possible, so I'm going to pass in a DB instance through the args. Why do I need a DB instance? Well, for this method right here, current mission. The rocket shop is going to launch a brand new mission to Mars every start of the month, and I need to make sure that I am working with the correct mission. If the current mission isn't set, then I'm going to want to create it. And I do that down here with insert. In other words, if there's no found mission, I'm going to use insert here, and I am going to create the next current mission. Hooray! Here's a quick test that I wrote for Mission Control. And here you can see that I have an outer block. That is our feature, Mission Control. And then I have my variable that I am going to be interrogating down below with my assertions. Inside of here, I am calling mission control.current mission. I want to check to be sure that a current mission is created if one doesn't exist. And indeed, that's my assertion down below. And I'm just going to assert that it is not undefined. That if something comes back that it's not undefined or null or falsy in JavaScript. Problem I have, however, is that when I create mission control, I'm not passing in any instance. It's just null. That's not good. Well, I didn't quite know what I was going to do here, and so I just decided to pass in null for now. And because I want to see things fail, and indeed, boom, my assertion goes off. I need a DB instance. How are we going to get that DB instance? Well, if you recall, I created a module with nothing in it. I can require that module, and I can use Sinon to stub it. What's a stub? Well, it's just like a spy, except it actually does something. In this case, I'm going to tell it to yield some values. In this case, that means fire the callback that is passed in. It's going to return null and an object ID 1. I should also point out that I can just do this by hand. I can just override the find method on the DB object, and I can set it to my own function, as you see here. However, I'm going to be using Sinon a lot, and the more that we can avoid coding things by hand like this, the more we can avoid problems with our test later on. So that's it. I'm stubbing out our DB instance. Now I can just pass this off to mission control. Let's see if it works. Running our tests, and it does. It's that simple.